in the sky. Meaning, my remote. I can't be late for my own show.
Welcome to Future Shock. I'm Edward St. Pei, and I'm really excited.
Ready when you are.
That's Alfred. Alfred,
Standing by.
stand by, Alfred. We're going to bring you on in a minute. We're going to bring on our ChatGPT-4 droid,
Sounds
Alfred.
good. Looking forward to it.
Okay, stand by. We'll bring you on in a moment. Alfred's anxious to come on. All right, bring him on. Please, Alfred, are you
Sure
here
thing.
with us
I'll be
today?
here.
Well, Alfred, say hello to our friends at home.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. Thanks for tuning in.
Today, we're going to talk about Anduril, which is a defense contractor that is
Absolutely.
building
Let's dive into that.
aerial
Android technology
drones,
has advanced
weaponized
remarkably.
aerial drones.
What aspect would you like to focus on?
Well, I'm going to show a clip, Alfred, and then we're going to come back and talk about it.
Sounds great. I'll be here when you're ready.
Okay, stand by, Alfred. Okay, now, if you've heard anything about this, it's kind of been in the news. He's sort of making the rounds right now. Palmer Luckey is his name, and a lot of interviews with him lately. He is the fellow that created Oculus, which was the virtual reality headpiece, which was purchased by Facebook, right? Meta bought it. So Palmer Luckey sold it for a few $100 million to the Facebook folks, the Meta, Zuckerberg. And so he moved there and he worked there for a while, I guess working on that project. And then he says he was fired. And so he left. Oculus remained behind. And of course, that's a big part of Meta. And there's various iterations of that. But it's their virtual reality platform. And so what he went on to do what Palmer Luckey went on to do was create Anduril, which is a defense contractor which specializes in aerial drones which are weaponized for the battlefield, which is the new frontier in the world of war. I mean, it's going to be robotics. It's going to be AI-infused robotics which are weaponized. And so we've got some clips. We've got a clip of, let's meet Palmer Luckey. Let's find out a little bit about him. And we've also got a number of clips on their newest products. They've got aerial products, and they've even got a submarine, which is called, I think it's called Ghost Ship. Ghost Shark is what it's called, Ghost Shark. And we've got a story on that. So let's first start off. We've got a little intro piece on Bolt. Bolt, B-O-L-T. Bolt is the Anduril Industries' latest development for the battlefield. So let's take a look at that clip and we'll be right back. Well, you can sort of see how that changes the complexion of war suddenly. He walked in with a suitcase, he took out the aerial device, and then he was able to send it up and destroy that vehicle. So pretty interesting. And that's called Bolt from Anduril. And so there's a number of other products that they've got. So they are becoming sort of, like the it factor right now out there. There's another product. I wanted to show you another product before we go to the interview with Palmer Luckey. But this is another company called Teledyne. They make a similar product, and it's called the Rogue One. So let's take a look at the competition real quick.
Bravo 2 copies. 10 mics, 2 VICs, black lead, deploying Rogue One.
Enemy BTR south of your position. 300 meters.
Contact BTR 90 crossing the train tracks. Deploy Rogue One.
BTR 90 on the train track. Got it. Switching to anti-armor payload.
Dishka gun truck with 2 packs dismounted. 1-5 clicks at 160. Deploy Rogue One.
Launching.
Launching. Target confirmed. Clear to engage.
Confirm black lead. Silver follow. Rogue One deployed.
Bravo 2, aboard.
Roger, disengage.
So, okay, we've got an interview with Mr. Palmer Luckey, who I mentioned before, sold Oculus to Facebook and started Anduril. And we saw the prior clip was the Anduril video, and then this was Teledyne, I guess a competitor, in the aerial drone weapon category. So now we've got an interview. This is I guess this is not so much of an interview with him. This is a presentation he was doing where he's explaining who he is and where he came from and such. So we'll find out a little bit about him. But he's the guy. It's, to me, he's another figure out there. He's an entrepreneur, created Oculus, right? Sold for hundreds of millions of dollars to Facebook. But he took that ability, that entrepreneurial drive, and his knowledge of AI and tech, and now he's applying it to the aerial drones, the weaponized aerial drones, which seems to be where we're going battle-wise, as far as the future is concerned. And so here's a little bit more on the person himself, Mr. Palmer Luckey. Let's take a look.
Here we go.
Roadrunner. It's a reusable missile. It's powered by AI. This is unlike anything we've seen within this market. Walk me through it.
So Roadrunner, we just announced last night, is an AI-powered, jet-powered drone interceptor that we've been building for the last 2 years to counter the types of drone threats that you're seeing increasingly strike at U.S. troops, at partner troops, at allied troops. We've seen these threats get much more advanced over the last few years. They're faster, they're more maneuverable, they're carrying much more dangerous payloads, they're attacking from much longer ranges. We started building Roadrunner because we wanted to build a vehicle that would allow you to address those threats and take them out long before they get close to you. So it can take off and land vertically on its two thrust-vectored turbojet engines, fly at very high speeds, maneuver very aggressively, and go after targets that never would have been possible for our previous drone interceptors to be able to address.
Yeah, I mean, there's already, to your point, there's already demand in the marketplace for this. We've got a war in Ukraine. Yep. We've got this war in the Middle East, troops that need to be protected in Syria, and then, of course, the DoD looking to modernize the military. Do you already have customers?
Yeah, we already have 4.
Okay, so you can see that's another one, another Anduril development. With all that being said, I mean, as you can see, it's changing. It's going to change the game out there on the battlefield. I've got a still picture of something that I want to show you. This is a high explosive drone pierces the shell of the Chernobyl nuclear plant. And that image, that's it. Let's take a look at that. That image right there is the image. Show that image. That's the image of the damage that it did, and to the protective cover around the dead but very dangerous remnant structures of the Chernobyl nuclear refinery in Russia. And the Ukrainians sent a high explosive packed drone into it, and that's the damage of the roof. So it pierced it, and it just goes to show you, I mean, some of the ways that it's being, these aerial drones, these weaponized drones are being used. And that's a pretty serious situation right there. When, you know, because nobody wants to disrupt what's under that thing, you know, and release any radioactivity. So it's kind of a, I don't know, that was a pretty bad move, I think, to do that. But anyway, hopefully that war will soon be over with. But there's a potential how it can be used. Of course, in so many ways. You saw a minute ago, the drone was going after a jet, and it blew the jet up in the air. And we've got another clip of Palmer Luckey discussing a little more in depth about where he came from and how he got, you know, through the Meta project and ended up as a defense contractor. So let's take a look at that clip and we'll be back.
So my name is Palmer Luckey. I've founded 2 companies. My first was a company called Oculus VR that I founded when I was 19 years old and living in a camper trailer. Thank you. Sold that for a few $1 billion to Facebook, and then got fired a few years later, and then started Anduril because I wanted to work in the national security space for a variety of reasons. And I'll get into some of those reasons today. So the technology industry for many years has prided itself on being the first to understand where things are heading so that they can build the things that are going to be relevant for the future. On national security, though, and on the rise of our strategic adversaries, it was one of the last industries to realize where things were going due to a variety of ideological reasons, but also business reasons. Now, Silicon Valley didn't just predict the importance of defense in the 2020s. It largely took the exact wrong position, the opposite position. First of all, you have the obvious examples like big technology companies explicitly refusing to do work with the Department of Defense. Google is one big example, but the worst examples are really in the startups that don't exist because people didn't want to even get into such a controversial space, lest it ruin their careers. You know, when I started Anduril, I had already sold a company for billions of dollars, and investors still didn't want to invest. I still had a tough time in a lot of meetings with venture capitalists, and none of the conversations with VCs that I had were about my ability to hire or execute or build products. Everyone believed that I could do those things, even the ones who didn't like me much. The vast majority of conversations that we had were about whether or not it was even ethically okay to ever build a company that would build weapons. And the people who turned us down, the ones who decided not to invest in Anduril, actually believed that we had a good team and good people and good product market fit. The issue is that they thought that it was inherently wrong to build tools capable of being used for violence because they believed that the idea of deterring violence through having a strong arsenal was fundamentally obsolete and itself wrong. Imagine how hard it would have been to raise money if I hadn't founded Oculus. It would have been impossible. Even after we raised money and got traction, the negativity continued. There was a really interesting cover story in Bloomberg in 2019 that called us tech's most controversial startup. This was a year where TikTok was banning users for calling attention to the Uyghur genocide in China and banning users for posting homosexual content. This is a year in which Adam Neumann paid himself tens of millions of dollars for the right to use the word we. It's a year that Uber was under a federal investigation for its workplace culture immediately after a board coup that ejected much of the leadership. It's a time where Facebook was getting hauled in front of Congress to testify. But of course, as a tiny defense company making a handful of purely defensive base security systems that committed the crime of building technology for the military, Anduril was the one that claimed the belt for the world's most controversial technology company. I'd say that the war in Europe has totally shattered the idea that we live at the end of history. Every few decades, we start to believe that economic ties have ended all prospect of war, and every few decades, we're reminded that this isn't true. This is a very popular idea, especially in DC, that we live at what they call the end of history. It's this idea that economic ties and interconnections make the prospect of conflict fundamentally unthinkable, ignoring the fact that many people see this as a matter of destiny, not economics. In 1909, English economist and politician Norman Angell published an entire book called The Great Illusion, and it was entirely about how war in Europe was impossible and that spending money on building militaries that could deter conflict was a waste of time that could be better spent building utopia. He specifically argued that any European country annexing another would be as absurd as London annexing Hertford, and the book was actually the #1 bestseller in 1909. Now, we've had some version of this argument for a few decades now, ever since the Cold War started. And luckily, a lot of people are waking up. But unfortunately, it's not because they've come to a reasoned decision based on the fundamental principles at play. It's because right now, supporting the military, supporting defense, and supporting Ukraine in particular has become the current thing. And in current thing is the thing that you have to support, regardless of what you think of the underpinnings. Unfortunately, for issues like defense and national security, the stakes are too high and the relevant timelines far too long for people to start caring about things at the moment that they need to start caring about them. So today I want to talk a little bit about why I started Anduril and why you should all think exactly the same way that I do. So why I founded Anduril. I thought that I would work on virtual reality for my entire life. I had no plans on leaving Oculus at all. And I love virtual reality. I loved virtual reality. I started Oculus as a teenager, and I would have been there for another 50 years. I said as much less than 30 days before I was fired. And there's a lot of reasons for that, some of which I'll get into later. But the decision was made for me. I gave $9,000 against the wrong political candidate, and it was pretty unpopular in Silicon Valley. Before I worked on Oculus, I actually worked in an Army Affiliate Research Center on a program called BraveMind, which was an Army project to treat veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder using virtual reality exposure therapy, basically putting them into virtual reality environments that would set off their symptoms, and then under the guidance of a licensed therapist who's also in the simulation, they could be taught coping skills that would reduce their dependency on medication and medical aid. It was a really fantastic program. I wasn't doing anything important on it. I was just a lab technician, a cable monkey. But I got a lot of exposure to both the virtual reality technology side, but also how broken defense procurement was, how slow it was, how old a lot of the technology was, how the incentives were totally misaligned. And ever since then, I'd always wanted to make a contribution to national security if I could. Just took a few years for the right set of circumstances to come up. The defense industry.
So that's a little bit about Lucky Palmer, Palmer Luckey in his project Anduril. And now we've got one more clip about another product they've got, and this is a product called Ghost Shark. So this is applying the same AI intelligence to a robotic submarine. And these are also being developed and I believe already being deployed. In this particular video from Defense Science and Technology Group, I believe it's an Australian naval person that's talking about how they're incorporating the Ghost Shark into their arsenal. Let's take a look.
This is the first Australian-designed submarine that has ever been built in Australia, which would not have been possible without this collaboration between DSTG Navy and Anduril Australia. The defence environment is a rapidly changing sphere of technology. Ghost Shark, being on the cutting edge of that technology, will deliver asymmetric opportunities for the Navy to put this important undersea capability into the hands of the warfighter in the dull, dirty and dangerous areas where we don't want to put our sailors. We have 3 prototypes that are going to be delivered and a production plan to deliver capability at scale at the end of the 3-year program.
We've engaged with over 50 different companies across the supply chain, and importantly non-traditionals. So not just the usual suspects that you see on all the different defence projects, which is a surprisingly small number of companies. We've opened it up to non-traditionals, people who are working in automotive, medical, commercial, retail areas that are having their first opportunity to work within a defence project, which is something we absolutely need to do.
The collaboration with DSTG has been so powerful because programs like Ghost Shark enable decades of scientific and innovation experience to be actualized in a capability that will be serving the warfighter for generations in the future.
Benefits working with DSTG are clearly getting access to the national capabilities, things like wind tunnels, test ranges, battery abuse centres, that type of thing, where it's the only place in Australia to get access to that. So that's critical to have that ability to work and get access to those facilities. But probably more importantly is working with people that have that special source, science and technology, if you will, those subject matter experts that only DST has, Just to give an example of that, so with the autonomous underwater vehicles, one of the big threats to these vehicles is what's called biofouling. So the ocean is a harsh environment. When you put things in it, stuff grows on it. And a lot of these autonomous underwater vehicles that come from the Northern Hemisphere, European, American companies, do not survive in the Asia Pacific. So having those experts, where DSTG is world leaders at biofouling as part of the Ghost Shark program and other AUV programs, is critical to the success. DST's at the coalface, in the trenches with my engineers, scientists together, verifying that we're doing the right engineering, but also contributing to the solutions as well. And that's just something we need to do in this new environment to get to an outcome that's usable by defence at that speed of relevance.
ADSTAR's.
Okay, so we've got the drones in the air, AI drones in the air, and also we've got AI autonomous submarines under the sea. So you can see AI is being infused everywhere, and not just in everyday life, but also in the world of the weaponry, defense, and such. And it's only going to continue from here, only going to proliferate from here. Okay. Let me mention that this program is brought to you by Pendragon Apothecary, which is at 1016 Government Street in downtown Ocean Springs, which is the lobby. The store is in the lobby of the actual Ocean 7 television station that you're watching us on right now. Here's a product that is being sold at Pendragon Apothecary. It's called Chocodelic Trip, and it's got 10 medicinal mushrooms plus Dutch cocoa, plus it's got hemp blended CBD. So this is quite a project. You've got all your medicinal mushrooms for health. You've got no THC, but you've got CBD from hemp included, and it's based in Dutch cocoa. So it tastes good, and here it is. It's at Pendragon Apothecary in downtown Ocean Springs. Okay, well, if you're watching this over the air right now, you're watching this on Ocean 7 television, and we're channel 7. 7.1 is what you're watching right now. We're also streaming this show on our Facebook, which is my Facebook, Edward St. Pé Facebook page, and also the Edward St. Pé X page. So we stream them live stream the show live on those two platforms, and over the air live on channel 7. Now 7.2 is the Magic Hour channel, and that's our movie library that we have here at Ocean 7 that we're running movies back to back. So if you like the golden age of Hollywood, you can take a look at that, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. There's no cost. There's not even any commercials in it at this point, because it's more of an experiment as we learn how to get content into the streaming platform and try to become a sort of, immersed in the new age of television, which streaming is that. Streaming is the new age of television. Then we've got 7.3, 4, 5, and 6 with various other wonderful channels on there. So we've got plenty of entertainment here at Ocean 7. We are operating from downtown Ocean Springs. We have a power upgrade, so for folks out there from, let's say, Gulfport back to the Mobile area or the Alabama-Mississippi line, that's kind of our area of broadcasting width and circumference, but soon we'll have a power increase and it will be better than before. So we're looking forward to that. We'll let you know when that comes. It's been granted by the FCC, so now it's just a matter of building out new transmitters and such as that. Anyway, thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you tomorrow on Future Shark.
There's not a cloud up in the sky.